Welcome, welcome, welcome to Expanding UTV on Naturally Better Television. This is India Irie. We are here with another explosive, dynamic, and quite amazing episode of Mission Impossible Global, where we talk to the world changers, the innovators, those people who are on the front lines of creating a better world. Thank you so much for joining us, and let me take this opportunity to introduce a co-host that I seem to have acquired. It's such an honor and a delight to have you standing here next to me and doing this show. Welcome, Dr. Jeremy, to Mission Impossible Global again.
Well, thank you, Indy. I mean, I can't stay away. And when we started Naturally Better TV, this is exactly why we started it, to get people of this caliber and integrity and intelligence on. You're going to just love this show. I just can't wait to listen to these guys.
You better believe it. And none of these people are new to the Expanding You family. We call this part of our Super Friends tribe. You guys know who I'm talking about. This time we're bringing in two of the great minds, hearts, and spirits from the Global Sovereign Alliance. They've joined us before, but they are back today with some really amazing updates on so many different topic levels. You've got to stay tuned for the whole thing to hear it all. We're going to be talking about sovereignty. We're going to be talking about alternatives in the energy forefront, new science, and a whole lot of inside information into what's going on to create that better world that I referred to. Troy Mathisen, I don't even know a title that is fitting for your gifts, my darling. Thank you so much for coming back, and welcome back to Mission Impossible Global.
Thank you so much. Great pleasure and honor to be here.
Absolutely. And we have brought back the golden child. That's what I call him. I don't care if he hates it. Roman, we've been together for many, many years now, from radio days to now. We are visual. And this time it's really fitting because just in case you have some graphics and charts, we can share them with the viewers instead of trying to explain them. Roman, thank you so much for coming to Expanding UTV on Naturally Better TV.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I don't think I'm going to show many things on my phone, but we're going to have another show to show people interesting geometries.
Absolutely amazing to have your light on this journey with us. So let's get started, folks. I promised you some good stuff, and we're going to hit them hard. Breaking news from Naturally Better Television. We are on the precipice of some earth-shaking changes on the front lines of sovereignty. Remedy, finance, and law is very important these days. And if we don't have an understanding of these word spells that have trapped us for so many years, we'll never understand how to untie the knots. Troy Mathisen, you and your super friends have been just up to your eyebrows in some amazing, new, and exciting updates. Bring us up to speed, if you would.
Sure. I've been trying to work in science and engineering and have been for coming up on close to 40 years here. And one of the great barriers to getting some of these great new theories applied in science has been corporate policy as well as governmental interference. And we have been working to try to lift those barriers so that sequestered technologies can be released and new ideas will not be squelched, basically. So I've been working with a group of people in law. We are kind of transcending the legal system, because that's all about self-service to private corporate entities. And we just really want to remove all of these barriers that are keeping things like water purification, air, soil rejuvenation, free energy, health and wellness related products to market. So towards that end, we started looking at what the real underlying problem was. And the underlying problem was this legal system. And so this past July, a commercial lien of obligation was filed against the International Bar Association, the American Bar Association, and the United States Department of Justice. They were liened by a multitude of lien claimants for violations of USC Title 15, Sections 1 and 2, for a total monetary penalty of $600 million US gold dollars each. alleging that since fraud vitiates all contracts, all commercial contracts, including but not limited to all unlawful sentences and incarcerations of political prisoners, wherein such commercial contracts were all conceived in fraud and lacking any moral and ethical character, those are in direct conflict with natural law and commercial law. And so therefore, this lien effectively shuts down the fraud that is these private corporations acting as government with power of the law, which actually is color of law that they're using. So this lien has cured. It was filed in July. It takes 90 days to cure. It just cured. The lien is to a total amount of $279 trillion. It is about ready to be enforced by marshals and the sheriffs who are actually honoring their oaths of office. And that's really exciting news. Aside from that, there's another case that just came out of East Texas. It's called the Lufkin case. The Lufkin case was basically a challenge of federal jurisdiction, and they had 14 days to respond to this inquiry and failed. So by default, we're kind of putting them in the same position they've always put us in. You've got this much time to respond, or we're just going to call you guilty, right? And so that has been done. And so now there's a case that's out there. I would encourage everyone to look it up. It's called the Lufkin, Lufkin case, out of East Texas is where the case was. And there's a claim number associated with that. That number is 9:14-C as in Chris, V as in Victor, -138. I would encourage everyone to look that case up. It's absolutely awesome news. It allows anyone who's being penalized by the justice system to pretty much put an effective stop to it like now. And then also in the first thing I was speaking of, this lien against the bars, which effectively shuts down over 150 different branches of bar associations around the globe. There's what's called a SEC number. That's a Security Exchange Commission number. That number is 2640220. I would encourage folks to look that one up as well. These two things are among the most powerful tools in Weed the People's toolbox to start really getting some of these sequester technologies out there, as well as eliminating barriers to introducing new theories and design concepts. So there you have it.
Troy, may I just ask, you mentioned governments. You also, of course, would then refer to what we commonly call the alphabet agencies, and also these case numbers and liens and the SEC number. Does that relate to people outside of the U.S. at all?
Yes, it does. It affects anyone who is in a country where that country's government, so-called government, because there really isn't any government, it's all private for-profit corporations. Anyone who's operating under the Roman Curia system of law, which is the UCC law and the Admiralty Maritime law. If you're doing commerce or trade on the sea, it's Admiralty Maritime. Otherwise, it's on land. It's under a Uniform Commercial Code. So yeah, this affects any agency who is using those statutes against people where there is no victim. You know, an ideology cannot be a victim. And most of these court cases that are getting pushed through, there is no victim, no corpus delicti, right? It's like the state against, or the city against, or the county, or the country. You know what? Those are all ideologies. There is no state. Okay, we have to really get that into our head. The only state that we need to be focusing on is a state of well-beingness, period. And so we've got to get past this idea that we need a fenced yard here right next door to the other guy who's got a fenced yard too. I mean, what's the point of that? You know, it's like we need to bring down these barriers, and those barriers are called statutes. They're being held by law enforcers and the court systems against people who weren't even engaged in a valid and verifiable contract in the first place. The contract that they're using as an excuse, which is really the source document, which is the birth certificate, They're saying that by proxy, since you have a birth certificate, any and all future contracts are bound to that initial document. Well, if that's true, then, and that's like the granddaddy document that holds us as a corporate employee, okay, it's not even a valid contract. You cannot enter into contract with a minor, okay? And a birth certificate, I mean, I was like almost probably 2 before I knew what my name was and 4 before I could write it. So that, that's, I am not legally or lawfully bound to any contract because I did not have full disclosure. I did not have equal consideration. I did not have the lawful terms and conditions of the agreement, and there are not the appropriate wet signatures, one of them being mine. So if they're going to hold me to other contracts based on that birth certificate or anybody, they better be able to prove that that's a valid and verifiable contract under the law. Otherwise, it's going to be moved away from statute or common law, let's call it, into the realm of natural law. And that means who did what with which and to whom, when, and where, right? So it's basically do no harm and allow no harm to be done. So if somebody comes in as a plaintiff and says, this guy I'm coming after for some kind of claim, and it comes before the jury, and that contract has not been deemed valid and verifiable under Four Corners law, the jurisdiction immediately moves away from contract law, and it's like rip it up, crumble it up, throw it in the trash. Now we're going to get down to who's really being caused injury here. So in these cases, the plaintiff is very likely going to have the table switched on them, and now they're going to be defending why it is they're trying to cause injury to somebody when there actually really was no harm done because it was just a violation of an agreement that wasn't valid in the first place. Okay. You're muted.
Yeah, we're not hearing you there, Indy.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay. If I'm the viewer and I'm taking in this information, this update, does this mean that these filings would be effective without the individuals having to go through a paperwork sort of process to be part of the filings, I guess the result of the findings of the filings? And I ask this because, we've gone through the OPPT and all of those amazing informative tools. However, there was a place where you can only go but so far, because people would get exhausted or tired or confused or they didn't understand the procedures. Is this going to involve a whole lot of paperwork times 7.3 billion people?
No. What it's going to take is knowledge. And the way to apply this kind of thing is, for example, if you get pulled over by Officer Friendly for having a burnt out taillight at dusk, when he pulls you over and asks you for your identification, you can be very, very civil, okay? It's all about being equal in this game that they play, right? And they always want to come in and have this position here, and you're just my little minion, and you better do what I tell you. It's not like that. It never has been. They play that game because that's how they operate, is through fear and intimidation. But basically, when an officer pulls you over and asks you for your name, you can say, "Hi, I am Troy." And he's going to say, well, I need to see your identification. Well, I don't use a fraudulent identification. I am Troy, the man. I am the ultimate authority and source of the information you seek. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that are within your jurisdiction, which is a public jurisdiction, but don't ask me anything personal. That's private, okay? And you don't have any authority. So if you want to know anything more about me, I will refer you to SEC number 2640220, and then we can talk. Now, what's going to happen, most likely, is the officer's going to go back to his car, type in, SEC number 2640220, and he's going to realize that he needs to stand down, cease and desist now, or he's going to be personally liable in the flesh and blood. He's not going to be able to hide behind his agent status and that legal fiction that employs him anymore. His flesh and blood butt will be on the line once he refers to that 264 number. You can also have them refer to that other number I gave you, the Lufkin case, okay, when it's a federal officer. Federal officers have no power of authority nor jurisdiction any more than your local law enforcement has without your consent. Period. If they,
I don't think a lot of people realize, unless they've begun doing this, down this path of learning, that, what we identify or respect, I guess, or give deference to as laws are no more powerful than, suggestions in a corporate handbook, but we've just given our ownness and our power over to this invisible thing that we call they, and sat back on our hands. And it's just so empowering to see, hear, and listen to, ways through this fog. I appreciate you guys in this work so much.
I was interviewing the wonderful Susan Terry of the Peace School yesterday, India, and Troy knows, and the reason is because they've been educated by the modern system to be stupid, and I don't want to upset anyone who may be watching for the first time. People do not know how to read and write. Now they'll say, yes, I do. I can pick up this document, and they do not know the origins of the words. They do not know the most simplest things, such as when a police officer and not a peace officer approaches you and says, do you understand? He is asking you to put yourself in a position below him and establish authority. So the most simplest language in the first instance. I mean, the other thing is that it's commonly, and we've talked about mass mind control, and the simple red flag of mass mind control is repetition. So they will frequently repeat on the television, the law. If no one is above it, everybody is above their law, because it's not law, it's legislation, which is contract, and they are constantly trying to get you in contract. And you've been educated not to know that. No one is above natural law. No one. But everyone, every human being is above their non-law, which is legislation. You see in the English European, it's parliament. Parliament means parler, to speak, mont, to lie, to speak lies. And if you talk to my mother, she'll say, how do you know when a politician's lying? She says his mouth moves. Now everyone in the world, when you talk to them, they know that. But we need the education.
Yeah, actually, lawyer is the source of the word liar. And most people don't understand that an attorney, his job is to attorn people of their property. That's why there's always attorneys and lawyers in these courts, right? The lawyer's supposed to be defending you, but he's actually lying to you, because the whole idea is to ensure, since he's a bar member, just like the attorney is, to ensure that the state becomes the beneficiary of your trust account that they created for you through the filing of the birth certificate upon your arrival on the land. They look at us as products that arrived upon the land via water through port, and now that we've been put on the land, they're filing a certificate that says, yep, product arrived upon the land, and but that product has two legs and it's going to walk off, and we lose track of them. So what we want to do is we want to bind the half of them that is their ability to survive, right? Their body and their soul, their true value, their hard work and effort. We're going to tap into that and tell them that if they want to work, they must get a social security number. They must have a driver's license. They must have these permissions by the state. No, sorry, not needed. For one, I never got my full disclosure. There's no mutually beneficial arrangement here. There is no lawful terms and conditions, and I didn't sign anything. So don't tell me your statute applies to me, because it don't. I'm not an employee of your corporation.
I just want to go out with you and just speed, and just really fast, just to get pulled over and just to watch you work. I do. Is that weird? I just want to sit back and was like, yeah, I want to see how this works out. You know what I mean? They wouldn't know what to do, because again, that indoctrination, they only know so many responses. Honest to goodness, they're just in indentured servitude, literally. They're by the necks and by the badge. They just repeat. Give them an answer they're not used to. They don't know how to respond to it. So I love the fact that you're empowering people with information. And it's, again, folks, it's up to you to utilize it, take it in, do the research or not, but it's absolutely here and available. Thank you for that, Troy.
You can't really blame our law enforcers at all. They are just as much subject to nescience as we the people are, right? It's one thing to be ignorant. Ignorance implies that you've had information presented to you that you've ignored. Nescience means you've never had access to that information, so how could you know? And that's really where most of our law enforcement is at these days. They've been told by the people who pay them, which is the government, right? And again, there is no government. These are all private for-profit corporations acting as government. And the only way that they have any power at all is through contract. There's like a secret code. It's like a boys club, this bar member thing, you know. It's like you cannot become a bar member unless you pass the test. And it's the same with the law enforcers too. I don't know if you guys have heard, but if you're above a particular IQ point, they won't hire you as a law enforcer, period. They don't want you thinking for yourself. They don't want you looking up like a revised statutes code book and going, hey, wait a minute, that's kind of repugnant to the Constitution that I signed an oath to protect and preserve. So I shouldn't be holding that statute. I should be just going, that one no count, and take my black marker and scribble that one out. And by the time you get done with the revised statute booklet that the officers carry around, this little pocket press thing, if they were really thinking about their oath and they were really thinking about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and how it applies to them, because they're the ones in the public service, at the end of the day, they'd have a little pocket press that was completely blacked out, because every one of those statutes is repugnant to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Constitution and the Magna Carta and these other documents that stand with a higher level of power of authority and jurisdiction than any contract, than any corporation that's doing for-profit business thinks that they have. They just don't have that power. So we're going to be releasing all kinds of educational information to let everyone know what the real rules are. And that boils down to natural law and by statutes, unless you want to sign a contract. If you want to be a slave, hey, that's what freedom's all about. Go ahead and sign that piece of paper, you know.
Absolutely. So you guys make sure you stay tuned to Naturally Better TV, where you can find the Global Sovereign Alliance TV network, GSA TV, at home here on naturallybetter.tv, and follow these classes, these courses, these webinars, these shows that will be keeping you on the brink of what's going on to change our world. And Troy spoke a lot about nations, you know, not even knowing what you don't know. And that doesn't just apply to sovereignty, to remedy, finance, law, jurisdictional matters. It applies to health, it applies to education, it applies to science. So one of the people we've got kicking down doors, removing barriers, lifting veils, and just challenging everything you thought you knew is here with us today. And Roman, I'm going to just give you the mic and just open freedom to bring us up to speed on what in the world you've been up to in the field of applied science and technology, only one of your many, many Renaissance talents.
All right, so just one thing that I wanted to add to the current subject, just as a transition, is the notion of law. The concept of law actually has two origins, as Troy reminded us. So you have the law LAW, and you have the law LORE. So the LAW is actually connected to the maritime law, and when you look at the geometry of the letters, so you have the L, the A, and the W. The other one is the law, LORE, which actually gave the folklore. Okay, and this is the law of the land. This is the law of the living. The LAW, on the geometry, you have the L. So the L actually, in the language of the birds, is the fire impregnated on the earth. So you have the shape of the L that actually show the descending spirit coming on the land. And then you have the A, which actually symbolizes the rule. So it's a triangle. And then you have the W that is symbolizing the opposite of the rule, which give actually the W, which is the alpha and the omega. So the LAW actually indicates the spirit incarnated on the land to actually serve the rule. On the other side, when you look at the law, LORE, so you have the L, you have the O, you have the R, and you have the E. The L actually also symbolizes the spirit incarnated on the land. So you also have the spirit, which is the fire, and the land that is the earth. Then you have the O, that is the symbol of the balance, which is the water. And in French, actually, eau is actually water directly. The R is actually the air that we are smelling. So you have the fire, the earth on the L, then you have the O, which is the water, then you have the air, which is the air that we're smelling. So you have the fourth element that produce the E. And the E is actually the unity connected the three levels of existence. So you have the sky, you have the horizon, and you have the earth. So literally, lore, L-O-R-E, mean God-giving spirit incarnating into this reality to bring unity. And suddenly, when you realize that your flesh and blood body depends on the law of the land and not the law, L-A-W, you suddenly realize that they don't have any authority on you because you are the custodian of your body. So this is a bridge because, as Jeremy's mentioned before, we don't read anymore. We don't understand the roots of the letters. We don't even understand the language of the letters anymore. And it's very important today to re-empower people about what's the real function of words. Like the word has been created as a tool of manifestation. And now we are just realizing it, and we are realizing that we can re-empower ourselves by rediscovering the hidden code into the geometry and the shapes of the letters. Because letters, like numbers, are not just symbols. They're not just like alphabet or numbers. They're actually a code that is entering in resonance with the etheric plasmic reality of this matrix reality that is absolutely not tangible. So when you actually go back into the geometry of the shape of the letters, you actually realize that all those letters are actually hieroglyph, modern hieroglyph. The ancient hieroglyph used to use symbolism. So they used to actually use a wing to actually manifest the air, because the birds are having wings and those wings help them to fly. So it's actually showing the spirit. The spirit is what connects you to the higher level of existence, which the alchemists actually extract from the plants, which actually give today spiritus, which is the spirit that we drink, that is opening our consciousness. Not the one that you buy from the market, the one that you make by yourself, because now they're using chemical which are unbalanced. So they're actually not helping you to be centered in yourself. So you can't really open your consciousness to this reality using alcohol from the system. But the spirit is one element, and the Egyptian used to symbolize it using the wings. Today we use a completely different way to symbolize it, using a shape based on curves and straight line. So I'm not going to give a course today on spiritual mathematics. I know you're excited about that. I'm sure you wanted to hear about it, but maybe another time. Just to give a loop about the technology and how everything is related, I just would like to share with you a profound insight that I had recently from 3 different sources. One is actually a psychic that is channeling an entity coming from another galaxy, and the information that has been released recently suddenly matches an information that I recently had from one of the most graduated engineer in France that is working in advanced quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, and basically both of them were saying the same thing. We are living the same reality right now, in the future, in our past, and every second of our time, we can actually change our future, that can change our past, that can change our present. And this information is coming from a channeler, and also is coming from a scientist, quantum physics scientist. And there's absolutely no doubt about it. Right now, we are especially living a momentum end of 2015, 2016. Like if right now you feel excitement, wait for 2016. Like 2016 is going to be a huge explosion of all the human potential that has been blocked for thousands and thousands of years. And what's happening now about the sovereignty and about like technology and stuff, like You asked me to come to speak today about self-looping technology. This is boring. Self-loop free energy is going to be boring. Like now we talk about manifesting a reality using plasmic technology, using consciousness as a vehicle to project your perception of yourself in this reality and order the creation to self-arrange itself to please your wish. So this is the time that we are living now. The change actually happened a few weeks ago already, or a few years ago, if we talk about 2012. And now we are living right now this new opening in this reality. So so I don't want to talk too much about it, but I would say the Keshe Foundation is bringing a huge leap in this understanding, and how simply by working with plasmic state of existence, actually, just to give you a quick understanding from what I can understand so far, because it's kind of complicated, but basically this tangible reality that is absolutely not tangible is actually based on frequency. Nothing is real. Like if we just take an atom, okay, I think most of the people can visualize an atom. One atom is actually based on 99% of vacuum. The 1% that we can visualize is actually the structural atoms itself, which is composed of a proton and an electron. If we look into the proton is also made of 99% of emptiness. So, and the more we come inside matter, the less the matter becomes tangible. So, or we're going to still continue for years and years and years to try to find the particle of tangibility that can define this tangible reality, or we can accept that this whole reality is just empty. Even if we feel that it's tangible, it's actually not. And we need to work through this knowledge to actually convince and re-educate, sorry, not convince, but re-educate our ego to actually understand or comprehend, because we're not standing under, we are comprehending, so taking with, comprehending that this reality is a part of yourself and you are part of it, but you are infinite in this literal word. So this pseudo tangible reality is the consequences of something, and this is the plasma. This is what the alchemists used to call like fire or ether, a plasmic state that is a potential, and this potential needs order. And the order has two meanings. You can give an order to something, and you also mean bringing order into a mess, because everything is in a chaotic state until your eyes looking at them. And when your consciousness is pushed on something, basically like the tree or the bed that you're looking at is just manifesting in your reality. Okay, so that's basically how the system works. So you need to have this consciousness to be projecting on the reality to actually manifest this reality just in front of you. Okay, I don't know if it's clear, but basically that's how it works.
That's just amazing. Jeremy, have at it.
Well, brilliant. You know, it's my first joy to meet Roman today, and you typed in the background, he's addictive, and absolutely, when I was speaking to Susan Terry yesterday, when I met my second mentor, Barbara Wren, and I told her I didn't do very well at school, she said, "That's fantastic, and you have less to unlearn," and it is proven through my 27 years of research that your mind is that much more able to take on the truth and these concepts and expand. And when he was talking about language for those who aren't fully aware of this is why at school you're taught to spell, and why joined up writing is called cursive writing, and they fully understand. And actually, because I've worked with the Aboriginal cultures, the way they speak is different. It resonates in their whole head, and they completely understand that these frequencies shape reality. They're just waiting for us stupid white fellas, and there's a lot of us that aren't white anymore because you've been educated to catch up with them back there. As I said, we have to go back to go forward. And do you really think these traditional Indians were sitting around chanting because they couldn't come up with words for a decent tune? No, they understood the frequencies. And we're entering a time now where the true scientists who aren't on your television and aren't generally in the universities, to the best of my knowledge, are coming together. And the excitement you talk about is palpable for most who are involved in this. It's like a pregnancy that's way overdue, that's about to give birth a beautiful family of new ideas, new technologies, and bring heaven back onto this earth that we've been living in.
Cheers to that, my friend. I mean, when I say super friends, now you see what I mean. Like these, to me, it's like that. Here, I guess it's a biblical saying. I guess the meek shall inherit the earth. But to me, my band of everyday people, the people that are in my speed dial, in my Skype, contacts, the people that I talk to just every day, are people who are changing this planet. I mean, like geniuses coming out of the garages. I mean, people are coming from out of the back in the woods. You had no idea. This one here, Roman goes and he takes apart a washing machine. Well, let's just turn it into a rocket. It's Tuesday. I'm not doing anything. I mean, like this to me this is really earth-shaking, because people are always looking up for solutions to come raining down on us. You know what I mean? Someone who's bigger than you or greater than you or something with an at it is going to provide this. But it's the everyday people who have the answers, who have the tools. And I don't just mean the ideas, because as I said, you guys here sitting on this call, Jeremy, you practice it every day. Troy, you, Roman, I mean, like, if you want an answer, Roman doesn't go research it like in a book. He'll go figure it out. He's going to build it. He's going to see if it works. And if someone else says it works, he's not going to take your word for it. You know what I mean? And he's not going to go and say, well, can I find another link that says this works? He's going to build it, and he's going to try it. And then 9 times out of 10, he's going to improve on it, and he's going to bring it back to you and say, well, listen, you've got some homework to do, but here's your toy back, But that, to me, that's news. Go ahead,
if I can just quickly add, because I want these great people to talk, this is why sovereignty and naturally better, and what I had to discover language, law, and everything, because natural doctors are being killed, suppressed, and and so on and so forth, is because the false financial system, the false law legislation has. I can't think of anything in human evolution and history that I'm aware of that has stifled and suppressed the geniuses, the common geniuses, the creativity, the truth, other than this system, which is why sovereignty really has to be at the pinnacle of this, and which is why I fell in love with language and real law, and because it's there to support you and protect you from those that don't want to see everybody become abundant.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear your insight, Troy, because I know, you really proved your worth in the arena of sovereignty, but in between hours of doing that, you're a scientist as well. You were one of these spiritual, spirituality meets science meets technology, and wham, bam, hold on, I got you. You're that guy. Talk to me about your insight on what you see coming forward in the arena of science and technology, or maybe even some of the things you're, fiddling with in the background.
Sure. It's fair to add the disclaimer. I am not a physicist nor a mathematician. I am a science hobbyist, enthusiast, aspirant. I don't know. Been studying it for a very long time, but my background is not academic. It is intuitive. It is through self-research, self-education. I got into law because I've wanted to bring some products to market for a very long time, and they're very interesting products, and they're definitely based in science. And there's always been that fear of, man, if I bring like a car, for example, that doesn't have tires to the market, it'll never see the market. There's too many people out there making tires and stuff like that. And you're always going to have somebody coming, hey, man, you can't make a car that ain't got no tires, because we got a lot of people here that's got jobs to make tires. It's like, Well, that's great. Let's repurpose those people and have them make cars that, don't need tires. And they're like, well, we got a huge investment in it. They've always got some excuse, and they always presume that they're the only entity in the world that has the right to make a car or whatever it is, right? They want that. It's a very selfish type of approach, So I really would much rather be working in sciences all the time, but realized that I wasn't going to get anywhere with that because the products I was making would never see the light of day unless I learned something about how to challenge these so-called government agencies when they come after you and say, you can't do that. If you do, we're going to hurt you. It's like, no, sorry. No, you're not. No, you're not. So I wanted to learn about the law, and that's really been about a 10-year journey for me full time. But my background has basically been design engineering. I started as an audio engineer, moved into various forms of engineering, very centered around the entertainment industry. I spent 10 years in Hollywood, California, working with Disney and Paramount and a bunch of companies like that as an audio engineer and a music producer, and then moved into video engineering. And then by the early 90s, moved into virtual reality simulation technology. Mid 90s, went into computer sciences, and I've been doing software development pretty much for the last 20 years for a living. The law and sovereignty related stuff, I don't get paid for, I hope I never do, actually. I don't like the idea of capitalizing on somebody else's downfall, which is why I don't charge for my health and wellness related products either. I have some, as you guys know, a line of products called Kinesonics, and one of them is
I will write you a rave review. I tell you that, but that's another show anyway.
It is, and I won't talk much further beyond that on it. But these kinds of things, corporations and so-called government agencies alike, which are still just corporations, want to put a stop to it because it dips into their money pool, as if any of us are promised the next moment in the first place, right? I mean, we should all be working together to find ways to make things work better. As Roman was saying, it doesn't matter who came up with this, that, or the other thing and makes it work. Who makes it work doesn't matter. It's making it work that matters by any means and all means, and so we're definitely on mission here to get this whole thing turned around so that people who have ideas can have the freedom to express themselves, creatively, without feeling like they're haunted by this ghost, this incessant fear and intimidation ghost. There's actually these three ghosts that we're all subject to that really drive our every outward expression in each moment as we proceed through time. And that's the body corporate, the body politic, and the body religious order. And those three things are like ideologies, fictions that we need to exercise. We need to demonize and condemn and literally annihilate those ghosts from having any power over us at the end of the day.
Amen to that.
In your head, like really, all those alter cells giving you those voices that you don't need to hear. Roman, speak to me about, as Troy is speaking and talking about working together and the power of the collective. Talk to me about the power of open sourcing as a combatant to what he's talking about, this corporate greed.
So first of all, what is very important for us to realize in connection with all that we talk, so economy, money, power, politics, sovereignty, energy, free energy, technology, is that you have two wolves fighting to manifest in this reality. The first wolf is the wolf that wants to control and wants to control everything. And the other one is the one that wants to live and the ones that wants to leave everything. So you have this pulsion inside of us that just wants to be present and just experiment things. And you have the other one that is based on fear and control, and that everything needs to be organized and follow some rules. So to take an example, today, how is it possible that we're still using money? Because we have this this programmation that we've based on this, we're basing swimming in this programmation that to have access to something, you need to work. You actually need to do an exchange of energy, which is actually one of the rule. Of course, you need to have an exchange, but the exchange doesn't have to be energy for energy. It could be energy for gratitude. And this is why so many people love doing some like charity stuff, for example. Like you have a universal law of equivalence exchange, and Troy works a lot on that, on the sovereign principle. But the money is actually the manifestation of this exchange of energy between the final desire that you want to bring in this reality and the effort that you have to produce to bring this this object in this reality. Let's imagine tomorrow that energy is free, for example. So if energy is free, like how can you evaluate the American dollars, for example? Because we all know today that the American dollar is actually based on petrol. But if energy is free tomorrow, there will be no barrel anymore. Like there will be no petrol value. So why or how can you evaluate the money? So the money can be basically based on, I don't know, resources, for example. And this is where the theory of the resource-based economy is actually emerged. Instead of fighting for energy, we should actually share the resources and just work on that. But if you have access to free energy, you also have access to transmutation. So you can actually manifest resources. So you don't even have to fight for resources. So then money becomes completely obsolete. And it's just by realizing that you realize that money is actually a curse. It's actually a way to control humanity through this illusion of exchange of energy. And by getting free from this slavery system, we will actually allow us to move into another realm, which is the realm of the manifestation, the access to empowerment, and all that. So this is very fundamental to understand if you want to understand how this mechanic, this monetary mechanic works. On the other side, you also need to realize that the experience that we lived in the past is just an experience. Every time that your consciousness decides to become something else, you actually manifest in your future the key that will help you to live another form of future. And if sometimes you need to go back into your past to actually change your past to allow you to live another future, to actually allow you to live another present, this is how it's actually happening. So just to open a bit people's mind, like right now, I am talking to you, but in the same time, simultaneously, I'm actually also living another life in the future, 2 other life in the future, 3 other life in the future, 10 billions other life in the future, and 10 billions other life in the past. And simultaneously, we all are healing ourselves in a different manners. Just by the power of my intention trying to transmute this reality, I'm actually right now healing your reality, healing my reality, because we're all interconnected, because this whole reality is nothing more than the source splitting into billions of particles and billions and billions and billions of particles to actually look at itself through different angles. And when you realize that, like, there's no place for pain, there's no place for hate, because you can't actually hate yourself. That's impossible. Like, you can't hate the other, because the other are just the expression of something that actually needed to happen to actually allow us to live what we lived, that will actually allow us to live what we're gonna live. And we need to be thankful for that. So, like, as much as I would love to hate the Rothschild and the Rockefeller and all those people, I'm actually very thankful for them, because of them, they actually allow me to live this experience that I'm living right now, and allow me to actually live this amazing experience of being this guy that is working in all those fields and discovering all those fields and helping all those people. But as you said earlier, I am nothing more than anyone. Like, I'm someone. Like, one day someone said, oh yeah, like, we need someone to help us. And they say, you're someone. So be someone. Like what's oh yeah, but I'm powerless, I'm stupid, I'm not educated. Look, I was very educated, and it was actually very hard for me to forget all the bullshit that they put in my brain, and to re-educate myself based on a completely different understanding of this reality. The only thing that you need is actually confidence and trust in yourself. It's not bullshit knowledge. You just need to trust yourself enough and love yourself enough to actually believe and have faith in yourself enough to actually believe that you can transcend those limitations and discover something bigger than yourself. That's all. And then just trust your life, like things moving forwards, and the fear disappear.
I'm like a proud mommy. You've come so far in your realizations. I'm just stunned. I'm very proud of you. I mean, just wow. And those cosmic downloads didn't hurt you a bit either, even though you want to catch up to what is in my head, all this stuff. I'm just so proud of you. I really am. Jeremy, any closing remarks, anything you want to bring up or address or respond to before we kind of tie up this show?
Well, on the basis of what Roman has just said, I now realize that my beautiful wife, Natalie, is right, because she lovingly and jokingly says, whatever happens, it's your fault anyway. One way or another, we'll work out it's your fault. So now I realize that the Rothschilds are part of me, and although they need a loving smack on the bottom and to be put back into the light, that I realize I'm going to have to smack my own bottom and sort this shit out. But I'm absolutely encouraged by all of that. It's giving my mind's already, I'm trying to concentrate, it's already over here thinking of other things. And that's the beauty of these conversations, because you and I mean, we're in the middle of our, work week. Our work gets in the way of our work, which is this. And I'm thinking there's people sitting right now in their offices, what a complete waste of time. So much of it is missing this ability to exchange and think and inspire. And if I am very certain that people who are watching this, when they get to watch it, will be as elevated as I am right now. So my questions back to Troy and Roman are, what else are you going to be doing on MBTV and sharing and exploring this? And GSA, what can people look forward to? Because I'm just intellectually just bouncing off the walls right now with a big grin on my face as usual.
Well, in regards to GSA, GSA is a non-corporate, non-governmental agency. It's not even an agency. It's an abstract. It really is what it is, of a whole bunch of folks like ourselves coming together and trying to figure out how to get information out there that has been hidden, and that has not only to do with sovereignty and law-related stuff. It has to do with things like new approaches in bioarchitecture, coming up with systems, living systems that integrate with the natural systems in a very synergistic, eco-sensitive way, as well as just getting back to the basics. I mean, we need to get back to this, quantum permaculture kind of stuff. We should all know how to grow a garden. We should all know how to cultivate and harvest that garden. We should all be figuring out how we can cooperate instead of compete, and how we can step away from conversation, which is a conversionary type of action, and move towards communication, find that common union. And begin communicating more effectively, like we do in our little group, and I see that spreading like a wildfire. It's absolutely fantastic. It's building confidence, as Roman was talking about. We've got to have that confidence, and it's actually really pretty easy stuff. So unlearning all of the stuff that we've learned, which is really complex if you think about it. I mean, that kind of all falls away when you realize that it's just really as simple as do no harm. Allow no harm to be done. If something ain't working for you, don't let fear and intimidation of what may happen hinder you, because it hasn't happened until it's happened, right? I speak to a lot of folks who are like, oh, I couldn't do that because that's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, when did that happen to you? And they're like, well, it never has. And I'm like, well, how do you know that's going to be the outcome? And they're like, well, I don't. And I'm like, well, there you go.
Absolutely. And, don't ever discount the power of creating these intentional communities, because not for nothing, I've met, I mean, I was that person, and I know Roman and I, when we met, we weren't among like bands of people where we could sit and just talk to, 6 or 7 different people, any given time, who you want to have these higher level that I call, it's like conversations like you want to have with Buddha, like if you could pick 3 people who are no longer here, these are kind of conversations we have, and for the longest span of time, it was a very select, very tiny circle of people that we had those commonalities with. And to create a space where people feel safe to express these, kind of maybe far out things that the rest of the world might not be ready to accept, is more valuable in creating and bolstering that confidence than we often give credit for. Because like I said, along the way, I seem to attract a lot of people into my circles, and that story is something you hear all the time. God, I thought I was the only one. It's so amazing to be around people who get me. And for that, it's priceless what you do at GSA. And speaking of gifts, Jeremy kind of asked what other things we could expect, and Troy's given us his insight, and Roman's going to tell you what he's going to bring forward. And I know the truth of what some of the things he can do, so we'll see if he gives you the whole list. And what he doesn't tell you, I will. Roman?
In my understanding, it's all about addiction. Like some people are addicted to alcohol and drugs, and some people are addicted to emotions. Some people are addicted to pain. Like it's hard to believe, but some people are addicted to their own pain. First of all, why would you like to hurt someone that is also a part of you? Like why would you like to hurt yourself? The biggest addiction that I reckon is the addiction to our identity. And this is also a big principle in sovereignty. Like, why should I have to be called Roman? Why should I have to be this guy? Why should I have to be this? And all this system has been put in place to force you to embrace one option. And this is the big drama of our civilization. People really believe that they don't have any option, that they have to be this or that, but they don't have any other choice. They don't realize that every bloody second of their life, like this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, they can actually change everything. And the only thing that blocks them to change everything is their referral to past. And this is also what Troy said. Like, oh yeah, I can't do that. Oh, why? Oh, because it happened this way in my life before. And said, and so what? You're not the same one today. Today is not yesterday. Today is today. Today you can open a whole new perspective in your future. So why are you referring to the past? And this is what I call like this identity addiction. We are addicted to our identity, and we really believe that this is who we are. We really believe that this is only what we are. And by believing that this is what's happening in our life, and when you actually try to put like a lake into a tube, you're going to struggle. Like, you are infinite. Remember that. So when you try to compress a lake into a tube, like, you can't. So the tube is going to expand, and this is exactly what's happening in your life. Like, you just scratching, and you try to keep it in one, but it's impossible. You are infinite. Okay, as much as you would love to feed into the system, you can't. So the system will always try to find new way to control you, like through the food, through the education, through everything. But how can you put infinity into a finite reality and make them believe that they are finite? You can't. So that's exactly what we are saying now. We see this whole scam system just falling apart, and people waking up one after the other, which has been predicted, of course. And we all choose together to live this present and to live the future that is going to happen. So just to answer the question, because I did a big loop, as you know, like Cash, for example, and I love to come back to Cash. Cash is opening a whole new perspective in all the domain. Like, what if today, not tomorrow, what if today, with a device that costs something like $50, you have the possibility to condense plasmic state of existence into a tangible, pseudo-tangible reality. Said differently, what if you can bring into your life an element that will help you to transcend your limitation? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bringing the manifestation elements that was missing in all our history. We know for sure that the Egyptian used to know that. We have some trace. We know that they were using some material, and we use exactly the same material to produce these elements. We're using copper, zinc, water, and salt. And we all know, if you study a little bit Egypt, that they rediscover that there's what they call the Iraq battery, which was a big jar with a stick of copper, a stick of zinc. They're like, oh, but that's funny. That's exactly what we use to produce electricity. Guess what? Guess what? They didn't wait for us, and they knew how to use that. But Kesh is actually bringing it to a whole new level, because just by using a very, very, very simple elements that you can actually make yourself for less than $10, you can actually manifest an element that, if you address the proper consciousness, the proper intention, will help you to transcend all your limitation. And when I talk about limitation, it's like, for example, pain. Pain is a limitation. Aging is a limitation. We all believe that what was happening before has to happen in the future. We all believe that we need to get old, that we need to be in pain, that we need to eat, that we need to be limited. This is all, again, referring to past experience. Today, we can open the realm into infinity, infinite reality. So this is what they call the CO2 condenser. This CO2 condenser, even if it sounds like just a CO2 gadget, is actually a nanostate of matter that is informed. And you can order it. You can bring order through your consciousness and reform it into what you wish to bring in your life. So let's take an example by putting these elements around the bottle of water. If you put, for example, an apple next to the bottle, and you just let it like this for 10 minutes, after 10 minutes, you will drink the water that is inside the water bottle, and it will taste apple. Because these elements will actually transfer the information from the apple into the water. Okay, just to give you an example. And you can actually feed your body with the information of the magnetic living field of the apple instead of eating the apple. Okay? Other example, you want to heal your body from a pain. So what is a pain? A pain is an energy that comes from the brain, that moves into the body, and that can't actually exit the body. So for example, you cut your finger, the nerves has been cut, the information can't go through, so the information go back as a loop into the brain, and the brain doesn't like that. So it's like, oh, it's painful. What if you can put a substance that will allow the energy to flow through the scar, even if the scar is still there, and that will suddenly release the pain, because it will allow the energy to flow through it instead of looping back into the brain. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about releasing pain. We're talking about feeding the body with the energy that we have to take from eating something, ingesting something, bringing into your stomach, breaking into pieces to be able to digest it. We're talking about now taking the information from an element and bringing directly into your body without even having to swallow anything. That's what the type of technology we're talking about.
That's just amazing. And again, it's like, you think this is something from a sci-fi movie, but this is for you guys. I mean, it's everyday conversation. This is just the stuff we do. And I love, again, seeing people being able to just imagine a world full of people who have just time, unabridged time and space to spend time doing these things like this that you're passionate about. And since Roman didn't mention it, and we do have an entertainment section on Naturally Better TV, maybe if I can discover what his currency is, he might grace us with some poetry reading or some music. And he doesn't like to talk about that during that, but, you know, Big Sis brings it out because you are gifted in so many ways. So we're going to fill up all of the channels these just amazing people that we've got here today. You guys are just excellent, I have to say. And again, I'm just so proud to know you, to work side by side with you, and to just be on this journey with you, because I learn like 10,000 things every time we converse. Jeremy, closing remarks.
Well, my heartfelt gratitude to all you do and the work you continue to do. And it is frequency, and the words you've spoken in this show will manifest into more. And for those who are watching this, I intend it to go far and wide. And if you are one of those who are just awakening or in a job that you hate and feel trapped, you make time, you have time to start watching these people, to start following these people, and that will spar out to many other great people that we've all been influenced and learned from, and let that energy, that plasma ignite in your spirit, and you become the solution you've been looking for. So my heartfelt gratitude to all of you, and I'm just ever humbled by this beautiful thing that we're doing here. It's a massive personal joy for me. I'm just so grateful.
Thank you all so much. I just love you guys.
Namaste, guys, and thank you for a beautiful show. Mwah. Peace.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.